If you're watching the Crystal Lake market and thinking that low inventory should be giving sellers more control right now, that's understandable. But in Crystal Lake, that is only part of the picture. And here's why this feels different than 90 days ago. What we're seeing in Crystal Lake right now is a market that looks tighter on paper, but behaves more selectively in real life. And that distinction matters, especially for homeowners who are trying to understand what kind of opportunity this actually is. 90 days ago, Crystal Lake had more inventory than it has today. Now the market is noticeably tighter, with month supply dropping from 1.4 to under 1 month supply. So yes, buyers have fewer homes to choose from. That part, that's real. But here is where the story becomes interesting. Even with less inventory, homes in Crystal Lake are taking a little longer to sell. Average days on market move from about 45 days to nearly 50 days. And that may not sound dramatic, but it matters because in a truly aggressive seller's market, you would expect tighter inventory to create more speed. Instead, we are seeing constraint without the same level of urgency. And then there is the third signal. Homes are still selling very close to asking price. On average, they're selling at about 99.7% of the original list price. That tells us buyers are absolutely still willing to pay when the home feels right, but they are not rewarding every listing equally. So, in Crystal Lake right now, the headline is not simply that inventory is low. The real headline is that buyers still have standards. They are still responding well to the homes that feel properly priced, well presented, and aligned with what buyers expect at that price point. But they are showing more resistance when a home feels stretched, dated, or overpriced just because the seller assumes there is not much competition. That is what makes this Crystal Lake market feel a little different than it did 90 days ago. The shift in Crystal Lake is not just about fewer listings. The shift is that low supply is no longer doing all the work by itself. A lot of homeowners naturally look at a tighter market and conclude that this should mean more leverage for sellers across the board. But buyers in Crystal Lake are not behaving that way. They are still active and they are still stepping forward for the right home, but they are doing it with more discipline. That's the part that many people have not fully adjusted to yet. What most homeowners are likely misreading is this. They see low inventory and assume that almost any home should sell at a premium. But the last 30 days in Crystal Lake suggest something more nuanced. Buyers are still paying up for homes that feel worth it, while the homes that miss the mark are more likely to sit longer or soften. That matters more than the raw numbers because raw numbers can make the market look stronger than it feels on the ground. And if a seller bases their strategy only on the shortage of inventory without paying attention to buyer selectivity, they can misread the moment. For sellers in Crystal Lake, this means the strategy likely needs to be more intentional than emotional. This is not a market that rewards overconfidence. It's a market that rewards precision. The sellers who benefit most right now are not necessarily the ones who push highest on price just because supply is low. The ones who benefit most are the ones who prepare the home well, position it correctly from the start, and understand that buyers are still making careful decisions even in a constrained market. So yes, Crystal Lake is still relatively tight. Yes, good homes are still getting attention. But the deeper truth is that this market is asking more of sellers than many people realize. And that is really the most important shift happening in the Crystal Lake market right now.